All right, Nick, good to be back. Had a week off, Labor Day weekend. Good trip for me. We're getting right into the specialist group because my trip kind of tied into a post that happened inside the specialist group. Billy's about to take a big journey. Our Porsche guy from Miata guy, that's his journey. Uh, Interesting question that he asked, right? I like the question. He goes in and says, "Hey, what would you guys carry if you're out on a road trip?" What was your answer? I'm curious.
Yeah, Eco One and Revive. I mean, to me, it's simple. None of us want to carry 1,000 things, and nothing's perfect, right? And we would carry everything if we could. But to me, it's just about getting through, keeping if something were to happen, bird droppings, whatever, stuff on the interior, just a quick wipe up. So that's sort of my plan. And has been for a very long time. Just something simple, couple bottles, few towels, that kind of thing.
Yeah, same. I mean, I remember, and Labor Day for me has always been, it's a family tradition going over to Lake Washita. It's in Arkansas. It's my dad's side of the family, right? That's always what we do. This year, though, headed to the Premier League, so got to go
Yep.
do a soccer tournament. Yeehaw.
Yeah.
So back out.
Messi and who? What's his name? Ronaldo?
Back out. Well, what's that dude? Some dude out of Brazil just got gifted like $1 billion out of some.
Uh,
I know it's crazy,
I
right?
don't
Like
know.
people and soccer players, it's wild what people the rest of the world love about
Yeah.
soccer players. We won't get into that, but out at a soccer tournament, and that was my move. Eco One. And I use Slick. I like to take Slick, and I love to put on some tire shine. I still always put on tire shine, even when I'm driving. And you're like, well, it's gonna whatever. I know it is, but I don't care. When I pull up to
Yeah.
the game, I want my tire shine. I want everything clean and looking popping. The thing that's always been interesting, right? Even back in the day when we'd travel over to Lake Washita, I would get looks then, right? It's interesting when people want to kind of look or like, well, what are you doing? Not only looks from inside my family,
Yep.
interesting. Like,
Yeah.
interesting. What did y'all think I wasn't going to clean cars? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, did you ever get looks? Like, do you ever your
Sure.
significant other or people think you're crazy for just cleaning
Yeah.
your car?
Yeah. I think a lot of people, but we have to say this to our crowd. I mean, to be fair, we know most people, 90+% of people don't really care for their car on a high level, right? So, they're going to stop at a gas station, go through a cheap car wash or whatever. They think that's what you should do. So I think guys like us, people that are listening, we're always the different, style of car owner, right? So it never really didn't really shock me. Sometimes you have people come up and ask, they are interested and they would like to do something. Do they ever do it? I mean, I don't know. I don't really follow up with them, but I mean, I think that's just one of the things that happens, that it's just so rare that people take care of their stuff that they don't, they're always going to look and stare and wonder what's going on.
So at the hotel, it was Saturday morning. I had to get her cleaned up. That's what some lady goes, "Are you detailing your car?"
Yeah, I bet.
Uh,
I bet. Hillbilly Alley.
I was
Hillbilly.
waiting, right?
You're not having grits and country fried steak. I mean, you could be at the breakfast spot now.
What do you think comes next, right? This is always the fun part. What do we think? Each listener is going to put in their own thing. If somebody asks you if you're doing this, what do you think the next question is going to be?
Can you do mine next?
There you go. Or, hey, how much? Right? It's one or
100%.
those two. Do you have time or how much is it going to be?
Yeah.
Fortunately, didn't get either one of those. We were on the way to the game. She was a member of the crew, all with their dreams of their kid going to. They're
Yep.
not even going to make it to the MLS. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Don't worry, they're not going to make it to Division 3, so we don't have to worry about any of it.
But fall is here. There are people that love road trips in the fall. I mean, besides
Sure.
Lake Washita, there's a lot of people that love to go drive through the woods, drive through the mountains. I think that's one of the things Billy was doing. Is people that love cruises. I know you're Mr. Business. You're not gonna just go drive and take cruises. But where
Yeah.
would you go, right? He listed some pretty interesting places. I know there's certain, maybe little check marks that you would want to go visit, like, I don't
Sure.
know if I really want to go to Yellowstone and see big trees. I'm
Yeah.
just, I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I mean, Tail of the Dragon, you got some historic, like, spirited drives. Look, I lived in Southern California, so I've been to all the places in Southern California that you see guys taking a lot of video on. I enjoyed that stuff. For me, mostly now we have some things that go through some mountains near my house, not places that people would actually know. It's fun enough for me. There's also drives you can do up into Utah, go through Zion and things like that. Like there's plenty of stuff very close to me.
What's so, man? Is it like for us, like we see in that area is like not Billy? We see more like Jeep crawling and a bunch of people doing that
Yeah,
type of
yeah. I
stuff.
mean that would be, but you have like mountain driving. You have 2-lane roads, curvy. Going through the mountains. I mean, anytime you go through the mountains, they got to cut where the road
The
fits,
pass.
right?
Hmm.
So you're going to get a little bit more spirited drive. The thing is that
Some of those
you
where
have
you
to
look
go
down, you're like,
enjoy.
oh crap!
Yeah,
Like,
if this goes bad, it's going to go bad. But I enjoy that stuff. With just like this, and a lot of guys listening, when you get like you're going through now, when you get kids, that stuff goes on the back burner, right? It's just like what's near me. How quickly could I just go out and turn this thing up and go?
oh,
But
we're getting a look into the future of old retired Nick. Oh yeah, got his
what?
cane out. Where are you going?
Oh no! See, I think
RV,
guys go a little bit
RV,
crazy on
Nick
the
in an
driving
RV.
thing.
Let's do it.
No, I'm not. You won't catch me in an RV. I'm not trying to smell everyone's farts and driving around, and that's not my thing. Like I'll fly there. I'll catch you guys there. But yeah, I mean, I think anybody out there. I think one of the things when I traveled up to the Northeast, and we got some guys that listen. There's some great places to drive. Like in the Northeast, you get a lot of different. You can hit a lot of different states and stuff really quickly. That kind of stuff. So I think everybody's just got something probably closer to them than they think, just to go do some fun driving.
And that's part of where we, why not enjoy your car, right? Like car
Yeah, just
life, right?
yeah, just go as quickly as you can. Find something to do. Do it as
Hmm.
near you as you can. I think a lot of guys are like, I got to go take this big trip. I'm sort of like, hey, what can I make happen here pretty quickly? So I can go enjoy it and have a good time, but I don't have to take much time out of my day to go have that good time.
Now you got to have a car that you like to go enjoy it. That might be a lot of some people, right? That's
Sure,
why I
and I
guess Billy
totally get
threw the
that
money
too.
in on that engine. He's like, I'm gonna go enjoy it. You mean you do? Like, with my caddy, it's not something I cruise around in. But this weekend, doors off, it's 75 degrees. I posted a picture I took. I had to run through Sam's, of course. Jeez, oh my word!
Yeah,
Sam's on a Friday night. I
that's
asked
a
the
whole
lady, said,
that's a
"Oh,
whole different
brutal." I was
scene.
like, "What's going on here?" And she goes, "Oh, they all got their EBT money." I go, "Makes
Well, I got a
sense.
weird one.
Makes
So
sense."
we had to stop by Sam's, not go in, but I guess you can like order online and they bring it out
Mhm,
to you or whatever. You know what I
mhm.
didn't know? And by the way, everybody that knows this is going to be like, who cares? I didn't know you could get ice cream at Sam's.
Oh, mhm.
I mean, you can get a lot of shit at this place. I,
You
I
missed
mean,
out. Back in the day, my move was the hot dog and Coke for like $2.
that's
I mean,
crazy.
you get a
Is
slice
it
of
still
pizza
two
and a Coke
bucks?
for $1.50.
Is it still $2?
I don't know. I can't eat that stuff and drink that stuff anymore. So
Hey,
I don't
that's how you know Marty's old. He's like,
Yeah,
my
that's how
doctor
you
said I can't have
know.
that anymore.
The doctor didn't
I
cut me
got my
off. I
Lipitor,
cut
so my
myself
doctor
off.
said I can't have it anymore.
But so, we're there and I post a picture just inside the specialist group, thinking car life. Well, this guy's confused. Salt life. And he's got the Ron John sticker. I'm
Oh,
in.
that's old school.
But doors on, top on, and you just go, come on, man. Enjoy
Hey,
your Jeep. Like, come
I saw
on.
a guy today that I'll give a shout out to. It was like a 1997 Jeep Wrangler. Weather's kind of broke here. Weather breaking here is under 100. It's a dry heat, so I mean it's not hot ever. But one of the things we had here is like once it gets under 100, people come out of the woodwork. He had like 90, probably a 96, 97, 98 Jeep, doors off, sandals on, just going to work. Not a flashy Jeep, just anybody had a Jeep, a real Jeep, not a Cherokee with, some bigger tires on it. You know what I'm saying? So I got to give some respect to that guy. I should have
One of
given him a
your
little
crew,
courtesy honk and been like, hey, there you
one
go.
of your crew was unzipping her window. and then sticking her hand out so she could wave at me. And I was like, okay, unzip your window, zip it back up, go on to town. All
I
right,
hear you.
so it was fun inside the specialist group where I posted that. There was a lot of cars and stuff posted, so we're going to get into that. I mean, some of the cars, some beautiful. That 2025 GMC Sierra,
Yeah,
beautiful.
nice
What those
truck.
GMC Sierras are they're pretty trucks. They're
Yeah, they're
doing great
nice.
with those. I'm interested to see who all runs into Cooking with Nick. Put that new Diamond Black, the Tesla's new Diamond Black.
Yeah,
That was pretty sweet. What is
yeah.
Diamond Black? Do you know?
I mean, I'm guessing it has some kind of little flake in it. But the craziest
Uh,
part is if you guys weren't around for when Tesla Black originally came out, it was one of the most miserable cars to detail in the history of the world. Like
mhm.
by far, one of the worst blacks to ever be invented. So hopefully they got that figured out.
Yeah, probably one of the coolest coatings put on was the toe pig. The toe pig was pretty cool. The toe
Yeah,
pig was cool. All
that
right,
was a cool
so
truck.
I want to talk about something. We won't go too far into it, and I can appreciate the guys who, when they make a post, they'll say, "Hey, I use something else." All right. The flip of the coin is the guys that never say really what they use, and they come in the group and want help. Now, you and I have talked about this publicly. It's a move that we do. A lot of times we'll go into our accounts and see if there's somebody that is a regular order, right? Like, hey, I don't
Sure.
recognize this name, and we want to see if they order. Well, this guy, I saw a guy post, and he was asking for some help here. And when I look back, he hadn't used our coding. So he had a coating that started to get some spots, right? And instead it had some blue coloring like water spots. You remember that? Like just that side picture. Dale chimed in and different people chimed in offering help. They think that it was the iron remover that started to get it off and some alcohol, but you just go, huh? Like it is weird how things start happening. Inside the specialist group, we love, like we talk about, people go in and ask questions, but it is tricky, which you and I have said before. It's tricky when people don't use our coding, but then they go into our group and ask for help. You know,
Yeah.
what do I don't know what to do. I didn't answer
Yeah, it's tough.
because
Yeah, I didn't
it's
either, I don't
it's
think.
tough.
Yeah, I
And I
mean,
appreciate the guys that answer, but I don't ever know what to do.
yeah, no, I think everybody, just to kind of give my point of view on it doesn't make it right, just kind of how I see it. You know, we use our stuff. So, and the other thing is, Marty and I making some type of comment on someone else's product's also not the most professional thing in the world to do, right? You get into this thing where you're talking about, for lack of a better term, you're in a rock and a hard place. Like, I'd love to offer some help, but the reality is, I really can't offer help, and I wish I could, and I can't, and there's just no way to do that, right? And I think that's just kind of the thing that we have, and I don't mind telling people that. I get some text from time to time, and that's how I handle it.
And I wanted to bring it up because I think maybe some people might wonder why we don't comment on certain things when people in the group listen, right? Like this is a legit question. It was a great question, but is a time where you go, man, I kind of wish you'd go into the group of who you bought, but he might have just bought some generic and not has a group
Sure.
and no
And,
support
and
system.
look, that's the best piece of advice anybody could give. When you use somebody's stuff and you're having problems or something pops up with their stuff, you really need to reach out to them, right? Because and I would say this just as a manufacturer ourselves, like, hey man, if something's going on, good companies want to help out. Now, to your point, if you bought something that has no representation, nobody that you can outwardly see their face, you don't think you can send an email to this company, that's also another reason not to buy from companies like that. Because at the end of the day, you're going to run into something, right? You're going to have something happen, whether that's to your car, you're a DIY type of person, or it's going to happen to you as a professional. One of the reasons to buy from certain companies is for when things go wrong, right? I was having a conversation with somebody recently, and it just goes to what we found out at hyperCLEAN, or what I have found out in my life or your life. Guys, when you go buy cheap stuff, the problem is there's usually no support system for when that stuff falls apart, because having a support system costs money. The corner that they cut is they go, hey, buy this thing and get out of our, don't call us because we're not going to help you. Because you have to have a support system and money allocated to do those things. And it happened here recently. Somebody got a bad rap done here locally. They paid hardly anything for it. And they're like, well, that person won't pick up the phone. And I go, no offense. You didn't pay them to pick up the phone. You paid them to slap a wrap on for cheap, right? The reason the guy, and I don't even provide this wrap, by the way. I know the company that they didn't buy from who carries this wrap. They should have bought from that company. I bring up that name. I go, hey, did you talk to this company before? They go, yeah. I go, let me guess. You didn't want to pay the price. Well, that guy would pick up the phone. That guy would rectify the situation. You didn't pay. You did. Anytime you buy something cheap, guys, the cheap company has to cut a corner to make money, right? So a lot of corners are going to get cut for them to make money. And so I think that's what people don't realize about things like just as simple as a ceramic coating. You guys all know us. You all know if you email in, our team's going to handle it. You guys all know where we're at and that we're out forward facing of our company. I just don't think a lot of times people put that into perspective.
No, because forward facing, it doesn't really quite make, I don't think everybody fully understands that. For you and I, it's very simple because we've always talked to our customer. We've taken the keys, we've given the keys back, we've taken payment, right? Like,
yeah.
Very simple, right? But not everybody's done that. They haven't always, right, to your point, forward facing, like looking somebody in the eye, charging them for a service, finishing the service and collecting payment, right? Like, I mean, not everybody's done that.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And, just to kind of, rehash this, guys, it's not really fair for us to comment on other people's product, but your whole reason for buying should be for when you need help with something. That's the way you should go into buying, right? Is this company going to stand behind what they sell? Do these guys have a support system like the specialist group? Is it helpful? Does it have people that know what it's talking about? Like in 2025, I don't think we say that kind of stuff out loud quite enough.
So here's one way to think about it. I guess as you were talking, this is the analogy that came to my mind. Recently redid my car insurance. Okay. There's a question they ask you. Do what?
That's always fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was fun for me because previously I was driving around this state. So I had millions of dollars of coverage. I realized, oh, yeah, I'm just driving to HQ every day. I don't need all that. So my bill got cut almost in half, like literally. So it was a good phone call for me. Most people go, well, why didn't you do that sooner? And you go, well, welcome to Nick's world. I am Tommy Tech. I don't always think of stuff like that.
Yeah.
I finally got it done, and they asked me a question. Do you want the $500 deductible or you want the $1,000 deductible? Well, how much is the $500 deductible every month? How much is the $1,000 deductible every month? And then you can know, well, how many wrecks do I get in that will allow me to do the $1,000 versus the $500? Should I do the $500 because I'm going to get in more wrecks? Right? That's the thing I do, which I don't think people really understand in this situation. Right? Can I pay? I'm just throwing out a number, $10, $20, right? 20 more bucks for this on an ongoing time when there's another company that's selling one for $10 because I know that at a point I'm going to need help. And if I pay that $10, I'm not going to get help. But if I pay the $20, it's almost like I'm buying in to get help.
Yeah, no, and it's usually the $20, we're just using an example here. The $20 product is usually higher quality. It's usually backed by higher quality company, a higher quality set of individuals. All of those things go into it, and we just don't talk about it. Look, the consumer largely doesn't get talked to on any level about this kind of stuff. If you guys are doing this professionally and you're charging a lot higher than somebody down the street, just remember, you're trying to tell them the same story we just said about a product. We do a higher quality service. I'm better trained. I got more years in. My phone's always on. But the funny thing is, you never look at the products you buy the same way as you want the customer to look at you, the professional. And again, if you're just a consumer doing this because you love your car, it's the same exact conversation. Like, there's always a value in buying the higher quality product. Always. Now, you
I,
may not
I,
need it though, but you might, and that might should be the reason you buy a higher quality product.
I want to say this too because I saw a guy on the side of the road last week that was detailing, and I love to pull over and just snap pictures, just to see what see what guys do, see what people in my town and see. I, you mentioned something there. How important is it? I know this is just chasing a rabbit a little bit, but this guy didn't have any bottles that, even if you just got a hyperCLEAN bottles, they have a logo, right?
Yep.
How important is to have the same bottles, the same stuff lined up? I love the guys, which we talked about, have those most very intrigued, very organized. And then you have the guys that just have this van, and he had a shop vac over here, had this strained out over here, had an extractor,
There you
right?
go.
So a boy did
There
a
you
full
go.
detail, but then unlabeled, like like you could just tell, right? You can kind of put into imagine of what this guy's bottles were like and what his organization was
Yep.
like. You go, there's a little bit of that has to be done in this moment too, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't want guys, in this situation to be at the start of their career and think everything has to be perfect, right? Because that's not true either. That's not a real analysis of how we all started and how we all did things. But if you wanted to be taken seriously long term, even if it was just, you know, clear bottles, or like the basic 32 bottles, but they're all the same and you kind of label them yourself. I mean, even to that level, there's some of it. But like you said, I mean, there's also where a lot of guys have tons of equipment laying around to detail one car. And it's like we're real big on use this piece of equipment and get it back to either behind the truck or wherever. Don't just have it laying out all over someone's property or street or whatever. There's a lot of it, like I said, man, to your point, there's a lot of it that's just, simplistic. It's organization. It makes you look a certain way. Yeah, that stuff becomes important.
Well, it is because we were talking about, in a sense, what do you use and quality of products. And I always felt judged if somebody walked up to my trailer and I had an open trailer, not a closed trailer. My stuff was not, these guys with their trailers and these fancy, they're wonderful. They are. I dream
Yeah,
that I
agreed.
could do it. I never in my mind, I could never do that. So I always felt judged for my lack of organization, right? And I just wanted to say it, right? Like, because I think most people should feel judged on what they do and what they look like and the quality that we want to presume and what quality of product you use. It kind of all plays out, right? So, all right, let's move over to this because else inside the specialist group, it was almost like the specialist group had a sponsor. Uh, it's almost like we were sponsored by Matte Paint all of a sudden. This was very
Yeah.
interesting. How many Matte cars started popping up? I just want to. Is Matte becoming just more popular in general, or did we
Well,
just get hit
there's
into
just
a moment?
there's just more factory matte now than ever. Obviously, matte conversions with PPF or matte conversions with vinyl wrap's been popular a long time. We're just seeing more companies now release matte versions of their paint. Having it as an add-on, as an extra. But yeah, I mean, matte. Look, I've been kind of surprised. I mean, matte has been pretty popular for the last decade. I mean, usually these things come and go. There's been a lot of things that were more popular once upon a time, but there's a ton of matte paint now. And look, we always get this question, guys. You can coat matte paint, you can coat vinyl wrap, you can coat matte PPF. All of it can be coated. You just need to take your time. If you're not comfortable, do an inconspicuous spot behind the wheels. Get comfortable. You'll see how it reacts. But yeah, that stuff can all be coded, and we get that question a lot. I mean, whether it's by email, in the Facebook group, if somebody texts me, whatever. I understand the confusion, but guys, yeah, all that stuff can be coded just like normal paint.
Well, I can understand the anxiety, and I know Junior, he had anxiety. Let's see, he had a BMW with matte metallic. He had another one that he talked about in there. We had what? There was a Mercedes. What was that?
Yeah, I don't
SLK
know.
was it? I
Yeah,
don't
I
remember.
don't know. We had
I'm
we had
so
a, we
bad
had a
at
ton of
those.
stuff. Yeah, I mean, here's
And
the
a
thing.
Bentley. And
It's way
so
more. It's way more popular now. I mean,
well, so you go, I get the anxiety because these are expensive vehicles already, and a mess up. I think this is the
there's a
time that you
repaint.
would. This is the time that if you have Matt, you do go to a professional, right? Like, do you even risk it, or do you automatic? Is this a qualification for a professional? But then even professionals, right? Like Junior in here goes, I was so anxious. He was so anxious. Listen, the
Sure.
next week he went on vacation. I sent him a text because he was walking around with these like coconuts and drinking them. He was down in Cancun. You go, cool, man. You had a great time. You coated some vehicles, enjoying your vacation. But he had some stress for a moment, right?
Yeah, for
Some
sure.
stress. I understand that stress because you mess up, you're in trouble.
Yeah, no, you got to feel comfortable. Like I say, always go coat something, go coat inside of a door jamb, especially if it's factory paint. Just get comfortable, see how the coating reacts, slow down. There's a lot of people that don't know how to evenly apply coating. It's probably a little bit more important to be a little bit more even in what you do. Make sure you take your time. You don't have to be scared. I understand why people are. But you just got to get comfortable. There's a lot of places. Go inside the trunk, go inside the rear door, all that kind of stuff. You know, again, there's a lot of this where the internet scares you. Okay. They
All right,
scare
so
you
hold
into
on.
saying you can't do this or that.
You go into this side, right? You're talking about the trunk or a door. What are we looking for? What are some things that we should do that are a little different? Because this guy,
Yeah.
plenty of people have put on plenty of coatings, but he's done them for years, but now he's anxious. So what should we look for that maybe is different? Do I put more coating on? Do I put less coating on? Walk
Yeah.
us through
First of all,
that.
you should put a little bit more coating, to me, is what we have found, especially if you're talking about a wrap or PPF over a matte situation. But a little bit more coating. I think a lot of guys still underutilize coating. So I'm going to always say on these podcasts to use more coating, because people tend to not use enough. This would be an instance to use a little bit more. You're going to get a couple different options. Sometimes what you're going to see is there's not as much sweating, and sometimes you will see the sweating like normal. It's really factory dependent in my experience. But again, go do inside of a door jamb to see the reaction. Go and do in the inside of the trunk area to see the reaction. Every one is different, but then once you start to see it sweat, go level it like normal and make sure you don't miss spots, because what's going to happen is you're going to have this very rich look. Okay. And it's a great look. It actually looks better than factory after you coat matte paint. Okay. Or matte PPF or a vinyl wrap. You just got to make sure that you don't miss spots. Even a tiny little line is going to show itself. So just make sure you get nice, thorough, even coverage, and you'll be just fine.
Have you seen like where some people do the like we talk about the box technique, but then they do
Yeah.
that overlap of the box and then you can see that shadow of the overlap?
Sure.
Is that
Sure.
something that happens a lot
It,
in
it, it
matte?
could happen, but like I said, I don't have a problem with like cross hatching or overlapping or whatever. Whatever you're doing, you need to do it consistently throughout the car. Okay. So you just need to make sure your process is the same. By the way, you should be doing this on regular painted cars anyway, but you should just make sure you're doing everything identical, because what can happen with matte sometimes is if you're a little bit inconsistent, you can get a weird shadowy look. You can get this looks different than that. Doesn't happen all the time. It's just something to be cognizant of.
All right, so I'm working on matte paint. I definitely put on more, right? If I'm a
I
10
would,
drops, I'm
yes.
going to put on 15. Okay,
Yep,
whatever,
I would.
right? Um, what else do I need to make sure? I mean, is there anything
No,
else?
no, I don't.
Nothing
I don't.
different?
There's nothing,
Sweat
nothing
time?
different.
Do I
Yeah, I mean,
fully let it sweat? Do I pull
yeah,
it
I mean,
early?
I let it sweat. I treat it. There's some that's going to sweat less just because of the paint system. Okay, there's going to be some that sweat normal just because that's a different paint system. It acts a little bit more normal than the last matte. So again, even to this day, I'll go inside of a door and just see how this is going to react. Now, I've done enough Mercedes and frozen paint from BMW and those kinds of companies. I know exactly how it should react. But I still don't mind going and checking inside of a door jamb. I mean, it just doesn't bother me to take that, 2 or 3
It's a great
minutes.
advice. Great advice. Anything I need to think about different between factory matte and matte PPF?
Matte PPF is probably a little bit more normal, right? Like if you've ever coated over PPF, matte PPF acts very similarly to gloss PPF. But again, not really anything different except make sure even coverage, especially when you're doing PPF, guys, you should put more drops. If I normally did 10, I do 20. Vinyl wrap, same thing. I'd probably, double a lot of it because you're just talking about way more porous surface. You're talking about it's going to soak up a lot of coating. It just kind of is what it is.
All right, for those people that did not travel for Labor Day, they might have sat home, watched movies. If you were back in the day, you would have definitely watched one of the most popular movies, Forrest Gump. And there was a scene where he stepped in a pile and a guy wanted him to write something on a t-shirt. Shit happens. Sometimes with coatings, even though we've put coating
Sure.
on, listen, there was Christopher, and this was wild. I'm so glad he posted this inside the groups. Looks like Dose holding up strong on a client's car. And then we can just go ... Shit happens. Like,
Yep.
this is a white, whether that's an Explorer, something.
Expedition.
Maybe that's a
Expedition.
Lincoln. I don't know, but it's white. It's white on most of it. And then you've got this soot just coming down all over it, right?
Yeah.
And a local factory had exploded, he said, and rained oil and soot all over these cars.
Yeah.
Now, hey,
Look,
first of all, this is exactly why you coat cars.
Yep.
This isn't a factory matte. This isn't a Mercedes. This looks like a normal person's car. And they did a great job of using Christopher to coat it with Dose. And now Christopher's going to go in to work on all these cars that nobody, right? The other people that didn't get it, but for him, he's like, hey, it worked perfect. We're great.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, this goes all the way back to why you waxed your car back in the day, then you put a paint sealant on, and now we're on to coatings and PPF and all these other great products. Like, it's great when guys like Christopher share that because I know we have a lot of consumers that listen to us and are in our group. We got a lot of professionals getting their start and with lots of experience and everybody in between. This is the reason to coat your car, right? You're coating, in case something happens, right? You're coating it because you want to care for your car. You're coating it because you want to protect things. You're coating it because you want it to look good as much as you can. There's a million reasons to coat your car, but the very bare bones reason should be for when things happen, right? Birds, industrial fallout. In this instance, you had a real serious issue happen and it, went all over everyone's cars. Look, man, things in life happen. And a lot of times we don't talk about it enough. That's the base reason to actually get a coating. All of them, I want my car to look great. I want my car to be more glossy. I want this. We all agree with that. The base level is if something were to happen to your clear coat in this situation, you could be in a repaint. If the coating, even in this instance, it doesn't even look like it got damaged. But if it got damaged, you polish it up, you recoat the car, you save a repaint situation. I'm certain that there's going to be people that don't save a repaint who don't have something like a coating on it.
Yeah. And when we say repaint, it's not like, oh, well, the insurance is going to pay and I'm going to get this new paint. No, you know how much it's insane. The amount of headache that those people are going to have to go through. Whereas this guy, he just gets to walk away going, thanks, Christopher. Appreciate it, man. Christopher's like, no problem. I just threw some stack on top. We got you, right? Because that's what he said he did. And you go, yes. Like, this is the way. Like, I love seeing
we don't
what
talk
we're trying
about
to do.
I mean, even the professionals out there, we don't talk about it enough. We're all into the looks of cars. I mean, that's part of the reason we do this. But the base level is going to be for these reasons. When something happens that we can prevent, that person being in a body shop or maybe having a huge bill to try to clean up the car because now the car has no protection. I can't imagine what that bill would be to get a car that just hasn't been well cared for and have protection on it, that's going to be a headache. Even if the stuff comes off, it's going to be really hard to get off and going to be a huge headache. So this is always the base reason that we probably skip over more times than we should.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Like the next question I want to ask out of this is, well, at what level or what coating was that guy able to be okay on? Because we go into other groups. This is a group where a guy posts a photo. He's holding a bottle, and this is a ceramic wax.
Okay.
So, what level of ceramic do we need so that we're not like the other people that were at this oil factory getting,
Yeah.
crap all over themselves and not being able to wash it off? Whereas this post, this guy was just asking a question about, hey, I'm putting this on, this is what I did, da da da. And everybody starts reaming him. This I bring it up because I highlighted this. This guy goes, and this is why detailers have problems selling a true ceramic coating. He was
100%.
posting a photo of a ceramic infused wax.
Yeah.
And then you understand then other people going, well, that's why you guys can't sell true coatings.
Yeah. No, and look, we've said this, I think you and I've said it as long as we've been on here. As ceramic coatings got bigger, people were going to take liberty with the word ceramic, right? And it was going to confuse. You and I talked about car washes now using the
Oh,
word.
yeah, I remember. Yeah.
All this
I
kind of
remember
stuff.
the first post I put out when I was at the car wash show. And
Yep.
I saw this ceramic lava, and I just posted
Yeah.
like, you guys think this, whatever, back in like 17, 18, whatever they were arguing about, I think it was all the polishing and like true ceramic, right? Like
all
I
that
go,
stuff. Yeah.
I made a post. I was like, you guys think that's what's going to define? No, what's going to hurt you is going to be all the people going through the car washes
Yeah.
or the Walmart aisles and
Yeah.
thinking that they're getting ceramic coating.
Yeah. I mean, look, you and I get sent a lot of, internet based stuff, and you and I get probably a lot of this kind of stuff where somebody's like, look, what they're, I don't get all kind of offended by this, right? Because maybe I just accept that this has always been what's happened. You remember this when you used to have to wipe on Carnauba, and then the car wash world and the spray wax world, everything started to just say wax, 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 wax. For those of you that have been in it 5, 6, 7 years, maybe you have a different, relationship with how this stuff works. This is how it works. The fact of the matter is, there's nothing wrong with quote unquote a ceramic type of wax. There isn't anything wrong with it. What level of protection? That's going to be brand specific. I mean, there could be anything from that could be 99.9% water. That could be somebody that has a legitimate product. I mean, I don't even know what post you're talking about. So I want everybody to know. I don't even know the brand. I don't care the brand. But again, is that going to save somebody the way a true ceramic coating is? We all know the answer is no. But the funny thing is, the guy or gal, a lot of it being like, those old timers at car shows that would sit there and argue with you on what a ceramic is. The funny thing is, I don't know that those people are kind of aging out. I
Yeah, they're
don't get,
kind of moving on out.
I don't get as much argument anymore. I just say, hey, look, I don't know what that is, but a ceramic coating usually comes in a bottle that kind of looks like this. Doesn't come like that. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe that product, if you used it every week, would be very beneficial for you. I don't know, but again, part of it is professionals get so angry. They go into these groups, they vomit at the mouth and get angry, and then they didn't really help anything. Right. So I don't really want the people that listen to us to think that's the solution. This is what it is type of territory for me. This was going to come. This was already here. You were saying it 7, 8 years ago. We've been saying it on this podcast for as long as I've been here, which I think we're going into 6 years now that I've been on this podcast. It's just not worthy of a topic of conversation because, by the way, number one, those aren't our customers. Those aren't the people we're really going to talk to. And if you do want to go in and educate them, being mad and angry, I don't think is helpful either. So if you want to educate somebody in that post, then go and write a thoughtful post about what he has versus what a real ceramic is. Now, are you going to help anybody? I don't know. But getting just pissed off about it doesn't really seem all that helpful to me.
No, I'd agree. It's not helpful. So there's part of this moment where, we think of snake oil, right? We think of gray area. There's so much in our industry that I personally go, well, is a wax, do we tell people a wax is X amount of, I don't know, right? Like waxes used to be this, or waxes used to be then we had sealants, and you always have this number. There seems to always be this number that we want to put down. And it doesn't matter if it's a manufacturer or
Sure.
it's an end buyer that's buying from a detailer. The detailer has to also throw out some number that it's going to last. And we go, well, waxes don't last. Well, but it's a ceramic wax. Well, does the ceramic side of the wax make it last like a ceramic? I don't know. Does putting things on plastics that are shiny, does that help the plastics? Does it make it look better? But then does it do something later? I saw a post where a guy was asking what else needs to do, and these are was big fan, the WeatherTech mats.
Sure.
Okay, anything wrong with just putting on, and they list this leather conditioner and cleaner because he likes the way it looks. And I know it's a little slippery, is what he
Oh,
tells the customers.
hey,
He tells them, I know it's a little slippery, but I like the way it looks. Right? Like, where does all this fall in? You go, how in the world did you make these A plus B equals C? But ceramic wax, I know it's a little slippery, but I like the way it looks. Well, it's not going to last, but I like the way it looks. And so I'm going to charge you this, even though this isn't good. Like, there's so much in our industry. There's so much of what we do
Yeah.
that a lot of people can make these big, and you're right. I think most people in our world, they've gotten all that out, right? Like, they're not going to
Look,
do
I
that.
actually think there's one reason why. I think something that turned a lot of people off was the graphene stuff. I think people are very highly critical
Mm.
now, and should be, of companies, A, that are sticking with that, B, ever had it at all, and couldn't prove to anybody, because there was
Mm.
no proof that this was somehow, the next level. I'll be happy to debate that with anybody. But at the end of the day, I really think, from a consumer perspective, and by the way, you and I are consumers. Everyone listening to this is a consumer. This is not my judgment on everyone else. I'm saying for myself, for you, for everybody listening. Who you listen to matters more in 2025 than it did in 2020, than it did in 2015, than it did in 2020, in 2010. It matters now because so many people are talking. Doesn't matter what subject you're talking about. Anything in the world, lawn care,
Mm.
plumbing, anything, right? Everyone's talking because everyone thinks they're going to make a living off doing some kind of content. Okay, right? I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. And I think today, and I think this was my advice 6 years ago when you and I first met, I did my first podcast, is I was on this big then, but I don't think I've said it enough since, and I'll say it here. You're a consumer or a professional, the world's going to come down to the people that you listen to and associate with. That's what's going to happen. And I actually think the next 5 to 10 years is going to be even more unmerciful to the consumer listening to the wrong people. Why? It's pretty simple. Everything's going to be more expensive than it's ever been. And it might be exponential, right? I mean, you and I can tell people all kinds of stories of all kinds of things we know, but that doesn't really matter.
Okay,
What
let me tell one.
matters, what
This
matters is who you listen to.
it's not so detailing, but I want to tie into what you were just saying, because you were saying mistakes, and I want to say mistakes are also going to start costing us a lot more
A lot of
in these
money.
moments in 2025 of September. Mistakes. I made a mistake recently. It cost us, right? Like, and then we depended on some people to get some stuff to us. And there was somebody in an organization that decided not to do their job. And that
Sure.
mistake not only cost us, it cost, and it's something you and I haven't even talked about. Some of the education I found out is this plane that was supposed to show up with two huge cargo plane only had one. So this guy's mistake ended up costing not just the company all, but then imagine how many things were on this other cargo, and imagine how many thousands of people's lives got changed because somebody didn't do their job.
Yep.
Then you go, okay, in moments where economy's not so great, where people are starting to get more stressed, they don't let these things flow over as easy anymore.
Yeah.
So now they start going, all right, other competition, you've been calling me, let's get you on the phone because these guys just made a mistake. Next thing
Yep.
you know, somebody's mistake turns out to be millions of dollars. You go, well, I'm not a detail. I get it. But that's just one explanation of these moments of when you
Yeah.
make those mistakes and you don't take the thing seriously.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I mean, think of this from the consumer perspective. I just had somebody send me a post on a Lamborghini that a shop on the West Coast chopped up, trying to put film on it, knifed it all to hell. A Lamborghini.
Mm, mm,
Let's say last year, 5 years ago, that would have been a $250,000 car. That's now a $380,000 car, $420,000 car. Think of you if you're a consumer listening to this. You used to be able to buy something. Your car cost you 40, and now it costs you 80. So not protecting it properly and having something happen, it's now a bigger deal than
wow,
it's
great
ever
point.
been.
I don't
Right.
think people
So
talk about that.
I don't think people. Well, and again, we're all consumers, right? So one of the things I truly believe is we aren't talking out loud. Guys like you and I, everybody out there that's a professional in whatever you do, most of you guys are detailing. But I always say this, like, we're not educating the customer on when something bad happens, it's now going to cost exponentially more. So in this Lamborghini perspective, the car's cut up. It's cut up to the point it's going to be a whole repaint on the whole body. Okay. They cut up windshield, uh, what is it called? What surrounds the windshield? The molding around the windshield. That's all cut up. The windshield's going to have to come out of the car, which, by the way, structurally, anytime you have your windshield replaced, it's never like it was. It can never be put back, for those of you who don't know, because it's kind of all sealed around that
Mhm,
that
mhm.
windshield. And so now they're going to have to replace it. So you got a $350 to $380,000 mistake, a car that used to be $250. So you're already $130,000 different. Now, when you go to repaint it, go back to when that thing cost $250, and maybe, just maybe, you could do it for 15 to 20. Now it's going to be 40 to 60 to get it repainted. Okay. Also, if the shop doesn't step up, which they're not going to because it was cheap, this is going to go on your insurance. Your insurance is a lot less thoughtful on giving you a break because it wasn't your fault. Now they're going to ding you to a level. In some cases, they just drop people now. You go back a decade, they didn't drop people like they do now. Now they'll just drop you on a Wednesday. Like, hey, you kind of looked at us wrong when you paid your bill, dropped. You know what I mean? Like, these things have ramifications and we don't talk about them nearly enough. And that's okay, right? But in these moments, when you go back to where we started with this, it's like, hey man, the ceramic wax isn't a problem. It's not the problem that the professional thinks it is, okay? Because those people aren't going to be your customers anyway. But to that person that thinks they're putting something ceramic on, they are getting cheated, right? Now, if on the bottle, the company on the back is truthful and goes, hey, you should use this every time you wash your car. Hey, this, use it like this. And they're pretty explicit, like, don't try to use this once a year. Then did they really do anything wrong? I don't really care about that. At the end of the day, you got to know what you're buying, but also you got to value knowing who you're buying from. And if you walk into a Walmart, you don't have any idea who you're buying from. And if you contact that company and something goes wrong, they didn't price all that in, right? They didn't price that into the $2 bottle of thing. That's not priced in to help you out. Their customers, Walmart, not you. And that's just the nature of the beast. And I say this like pretty willingly. It's one of these things, man. There's a real cost now that has never existed in our world of listening to the wrong person. There's always been bad work. There's always been people that did the wrong things. The cost now is exponentially more than it was 5 years ago. And that has never happened in my career. It's always been a gradual price increase, over the last 25 years. That gradual is gone. It went from a $40,000 vehicle to an $80,000 vehicle, and it happened in a 5 year span. It's pretty wild to see, and we just got to start speaking that way, especially for people buying new stuff. You go, hey man, it's got to be the most expensive vehicle you've ever bought, and some of it's by a landslide how much more expensive it is.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's close out with a pro only type of talk. And this is something that you've been seeing a lot more. And you're right. As I started going back through, after you mentioned it, went back through and looked through, you're right. There's more people, it seems to be, right now, fall of 2025, starting to go, now hiring. Like, hey, that's
Yeah.
great. Because there's plenty of people needing jobs. Hey, this is awesome. Wonderful. I think there's a lot of people in the economy and the people out in the rest of the world that would go, wonderful. Let's get
Yeah.
people back to work. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, look,
So
probably our biggest question you and I get is about hiring. Would you agree? Over the last 5+
there's a
years,
lot. There is a lot.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's the number one, right? How do I sell more, make more, and how do I hire? I mean, those are the
And when do
number
I
one
hire? I
questions.
think is it,
Yeah,
and
but
how
it's
do
always hire. What
I,
I'm
and
saying is it's always around
anything around
hiring.
hiring. Yeah. Anything around
Okay,
hiring somebody.
so I get sent a post. Somebody sent it to me, and they go, "This guy basically writes this post, and he's talking about I'm having trouble with a team member. I do around $10,000 a month in revenue. Okay, that's basically what I do. And number one, I'm not even sure how this person has a team member. Only bringing in $10,000 in revenue. So the number one question I always get asked is, when's the right time to hire, and how should I know how to hire? Those kinds of questions. I see a lot of people. So I went down a rabbit hole a little bit after that, and I went into some groups and put hiring into the search bar, and man, there was a lot of people with not very much revenue every month talking about hiring. And I kind of come at it from this angle. And because I know a lot of you have this question, guys, if you can't do, roughly 15 to 20,000 in revenue on your own, how are you going to teach somebody to do, you know, 15 to $20,000, which is what you're going to need them to do? You can't just hire somebody and be like, "Hey, we're doing $10,000 in revenue. I'm good." Well, there's not enough money for everybody to eat, right? And
I
and,
think
and
people
again,
go,
yeah, go
hold
ahead.
on, hold on. Because I think people go, hey, I've made 10,000. I need to hire somebody.
Sure.
I need to get some of this pressure off of my plate. Like I've
Yeah.
got enough coming in, and it's probably right time because I'm missing some things, or I get home, I'm a little sore, and it
Yeah.
is probably the right time. It's probably the right time to go hire somebody. I don't. Why is that number 10 grand? What? That's not enough.
Well, it's not enough when you take into account actually paying somebody what is probably starting market now. I mean, I think it's pretty unrealistic in most cities. Again, some of you guys are in different areas. It's unrealistic for you and I to hire under $20 an hour for basic work in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Not the most expensive city by any means, right? But the cost in Tulsa, like everywhere else, have gone up to get a place to live, whether that's an apartment or a home.
So what's it like
Your
three
team
grand a
member,
month? You got to pay that guy.
yeah, I mean, I'd basically say, I mean, if you start somebody at $20 an hour, it's what, $800+ a week right there just to work full time. I mean, look, you're at $3,200, no tax, no anything at
Mhm.
this point. I mean, you're talking about probably 36 to $3,800 a month. If you're
Yeah, and
making
if I'm
10
10
grand,
grand, yeah,
I
that's
mean,
all, that's
that's not
gone.
that's not a lot of money, right? There's not a
Yeah.
lot of money left over. You got to run your truck, you got to put gas in it, you got to buy supplies, you got to do all that. At the end of the day, that guy's making more than you as the owner at $10,000 a month in revenue. So number one, probably the reason this person was struggling to hire is I'm guessing he wasn't paying his help very much money in today's world. Okay. Because when I started, $10 an hour was realistic. Look, let me say that. It was realistic for you. Guys, it's 2025. That's not realistic now. And you got to get it out of your head. Even if you want to start somebody at $15 an hour, there's not too many cities that $15 an hour. Here in Vegas, you can push carts at Target for like 22, 23, $24 an hour. I mean, so if I want to take somebody, from pushing carts at Target and I go, I'm going to pay you $15 an hour. Why in the hell would they do that to detail a car? Right? Just think about these things logically. Most fast food out here is above $20 an hour to get started. And I'm not saying but
Well,
you
I'll
got to
find
realize.
somebody, Nick. I'll find somebody. I'm
Sure
going
you
to go
will.
do it.
No, here's the thing. You'll find somebody. They just won't be reliable. They won't be good. They won't, you'll complain about them, which is why you're in the group. But again, guys, and I just go on my hiring journey, which I'm sure many people listening have the same one, especially guys that have had success. The number one reason to hire is to double your workload, right? If I have another body that I can get trained up, I can do 2 times the work, right? It's not to hire somebody to do none of the work. Meaning like
Yeah,
I'm going
most
to
people. Yeah, most people are going to go. I'm hiring because I want to do less.
Yeah. And by the way, that can come later, but most people that are commenting, this is their first hire. It's them and a person, or it's them and 2 people. Okay. And at the end of the day, if you can't double and triple your revenue by hiring somebody, then in all actuality, what you're doing is you're now taking all that money out of your own pocket. Okay. If you can double what you're doing, you're not taking it out of your own pocket. You're taking it out of the bonus of the other work. Right.
How's it
So
taking it out of my pocket?
what's that?
How's it taking it out of my pocket?
Well, because if I do $10,000 worth of work on my own and I hire somebody and we're still doing $10,000 worth of work, I just took $4,000 out of my pocket, 3,800, 3,600 bucks out of my pocket. Right. So you don't really get into just hiring to take things off your plate. I'd probably say it was like my 4th or 5th hire. That's when I was able to hire strictly to take something off my plate. Okay. Probably my first 2 to 3 hires that stuck around. I think the same goes for us at HQ, right? I mean, this is kind of an across the board thing when you're a founder and the people driving the business to start out, which is most of us, right? Most of us don't just hire 10 people at our company. You start a company, you grow it, then you hire. That's who I'm talking to here. I mean, you and I couldn't, I mean, what? It was almost 18 months before we could hire somebody to take over some of your duties at HQ, right? And at that point in time, we had to hire because the workload had gotten so big that you actually couldn't do it and do other responsibilities. So we were able to hire because the revenue had got to a point where hiring a person was now, it was not a want and a need, it was a necessity. Well, if you're doing $10,000 in revenue, guys, every single one of you that's starting your business should be able to do $10,000 in business by yourself very easily in today's economic situation of what most of you should be charging. Doesn't matter what you think, that's a fact. Realistically, you need to find a way to do $15,000 to $20,000 on your own by today's math, and then go and hire from that point of strength.
So what if I'm like 6, 7, 8 grand, something like that? Now I'm
Yeah,
sweating at the end of the month. I'm like, Nick,
shouldn't be thinking about
I'm
hiring.
exhausted. I need somebody.
Yeah, you can hire, but again, all that's coming out of your money, right? You don't have enough money. Now, if what you're telling me is, let's just use the round number of 10 grand, I'm going to hire. In the next month, with all the stuff I have to pass up now, I'm going to go to $20,000 or $30,000 because I have a helper. That is a reason to hire. Okay. If you want to stay in business, you can't hire with such a low revenue and expect it to work out. Because, by the way, there's just not enough money to make it work out long term.
I was trying to think through, why do people go ahead and jump off that ledge, right? Why do they do it, right? Which we already said. I want to take some pressure off. I want to
Sure.
I want to stop, which is what I did. I want somebody else to clean those wheels, somebody else to vacuum the car. I want somebody else to, and you would give those guys the things that you didn't want to do, which we would say
Sure.
inside of a company, you need people to be able to grow, and you start here and you get to that point. Okay. Okay. Well, you're saying that in order to hire those people, I've got to double or triple my income.
Yep. Yep.
How does that happen? Just hire
Well,
somebody? You're going to double
you
my income?
you should only so what I found, what I would assume, and by the way, talk to a lot of people that have had success in this business. Usually, when most of us who end up having success long term look back at why we first hired somebody, it's because we were bypassing a lot of work, right? We just couldn't physically get to the work anymore. So when I hired, and I remember it pretty distinctly, I was like, I think 12 weeks out. I just couldn't get to any more work. And I was working 6, 7 days a week and whatever. So once I hired, I went from 12 weeks out to 6 weeks out and I doubled the work, right? Not immediately, but within about 60 days, I was double what I had made in revenue, not actually made, but revenue. So everybody knows. But also I knew I could double it because I had all of this backlog. And then every time somebody called, instead of 12 weeks, I was now 6 weeks, right? And then I got built back up. I think we got to like 10 weeks backed up, something like that. Wasn't the smartest thing, by the way. I would have hired a little bit sooner. This was not perfect scenario. I'm just sharing with everybody what happened. I went and hired my second guy, and all of a sudden we went from 10 weeks. Within about 60 days, I was down to like 3 or 4 weeks. But dude, we were cranking out so much work that now anytime somebody called, I was like, yeah, we can take on more work. We can take on more work. We can. So all of a sudden I went from, let's just call it my first hire, I was doing 20 grand a month. When I hired, we went from 20 to 30 overnight for the next month. And then we were at 40 overnight. Then I went to my second hire and we got to 50 to 60. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like we just exponentially had the work there. And I was turning so much work away that I was able to follow up with people and say, hey, we've had changes, I've hired, and all of a sudden that work just kept coming in. But I hired, I guess you would say out of necessity, but guys, I also knew I was immediately trying to double my output. I didn't take any time off. I didn't put the work on. It made me pick up steam to get to the next level. And I think I've said this on the podcast before. I never really even got to take much of a step back from the work until maybe like 4 people on my team, something like that. I was still cranking. I was still doing what I had to do. But by that time, we had such big months. I had saved so much money in the company. Anytime I hired somebody, I could pay top dollar. And also at the time, I was buying trucks cash. Like, hey, let's set up a truck, cash. And I was just dumping all of this money in it. But the money has to be there. Like, this is one of the things that when I get this question, it's hard to explain to people. I was living on nothing this entire time. Like I did not expand my lifestyle. I didn't go buy stuff. I didn't have time to do anything. Like I had no time to do anything at all. And it was just like, okay, another truck, another truck, another truck. And in this time, guys, I was losing people and having to rehire. So don't think all of this went smoothly. It never does. Okay, for anybody. And anybody that tells you it did, they're lying to you. I had nothing figured out. I was just doing what I had to do. But the thing is, I didn't have a problem working 7 days a week. I didn't ask them to work 7 days a week. So I'd make up anything we didn't get to on Saturdays and Sundays. But I never hired with the thought process of we weren't going to find a way to double our work. Because at some point, when you run one of these service based companies, each employee, each team member is going to have to generate so much income off what they do for you to be able to pay them a good wage and make sure that they're able to drive a truck around or be in the shop or whatever the case may be. And if you never did that yourself, it's going to be hard to get them to the level that you need them to get to. And that's my opinion on it.
All right. So I want to go over a philosophy because you mentioned something. You said that you hired people and you weren't really making. When, there's this idea that an entrepreneurship, right? Like I should grind, right? Keep grinding, grind it out, right? And then you hire somebody.
Yep.
And there's this other idea that you just keep grinding And you mentioned that you weren't making as much as the people you hired. Did you bring home? Did you pay yourself? What did that look like when you were there? And because there's this philosophy that some people say, hey, uh, if I'm building, right, or they
Sure.
start saying I want to get out of grinding, I've got to pay people more than I'm making.
Nah.
But the business is supposed to be generating income, and I've got to live, and money
Yeah.
keeps, like
For
we said, inflation. Like where do I go into that, right? Because I told you, I said there's a philosophy beforehand. I was like, hey man, there's a philosophy. There's
sure.
a philosophy that you should grind it out, pay people more than you ever make in entrepreneurship, and hoping that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, there might be times that happened, but again, I don't think a lot of people understand money. Which we're not going to dive into it here. I think we've talked money on here before. Certainly, there were months where I didn't make much money. Maybe we bought a truck or something broke down or whatever. But when you're in a service based business, you should be making a pretty good living. You should be making a pretty good living because, especially in something like detailing, your costs are relatively low. Even when you pay at the top of the market for a beginning team member, that should be a low effect. So when everybody asks me about hiring, I go, "Hey, do you have 3 to 6 months to just pay somebody in an account somewhere? Like, do you have 3 to 6 months of their salary or their hourly, like just somewhere ready to hire?" A lot of people say no, and I go, "Okay, well, get 3 months of an employee, what a team member would need to get paid, put that into an account, that kind of simple stuff." Um, I, I'll tell you this, man, you're never gonna make as much money as easily as when you're working by yourself. Okay. That is the easiest way. Like, there's many of you guys that should be having $20,000 a month on your own. We've even talked to guys like, Mildred and other people, and they're like, hey, man, if I really wanted to do this thing, I could find a way to do $25,000 a month just all by myself. You're going to be working, you're going to be sweating, you're going to be humping, you're going to be doing some work. But those of us that know the business, there's nothing as profitable as you working on your own. So anybody telling you differently has never been there. But you can't grow past a certain point, right? So, yeah, when you first hire people, it does take a hit to your personal money coming in, that kind of thing. But you should be, like I said, 30 to 60 days. If you hired, especially you guys that are solo by right now and you're hiring a second person, within 60 days, if I get that person up to speed, I should be able to double the revenue of when I hired that person. If you can't do that, you've hired for all the wrong reasons, in my opinion. Okay. Then when you become really good as a two-man team, you should be talking about like 3x probably where you were at, because now your body is not doing as much. They're getting more comfortable. Your system's getting more organized and efficient. So there's a lot of guys, two-man teams, that could be easily do $35,000 to $45,000 a month in revenue. I mean, people don't believe it, but I have receipts from a lot of people that have done that, myself included. You probably have receipts yourself and other people. And again, I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm saying I think people are getting too comfortable hiring too quickly, and they're not understanding that 10 grand isn't what it used to be. 10 grand's now the new 20 to 25,000. Okay, that's the real number. 10 grand when I started, which was 2010 as a business. Hey man, that was a lot of money. You had 10 grand months. You felt good about yourself, right? 10 grand months now is not the money it was then. And I have to realize that even today for me. Like, we've had to make our guys more efficient. My team is more efficient than it's ever been. They're in charge of more than they've ever been. I've had to pay them more money than I've ever had to pay. I've had to take a hit to do things like hyperCLEAN. You and I talk about this a lot. I don't think people realize the amount of money I've had to invest into my business here at VR to make sure everybody's happy and all this kind of stuff. So I want everybody to not run away from hiring. But if you can't find a way to generate 15, 20, 25,000 on your own, It's going to be hard to train somebody to work at that level. And that's the level you're going to need them to work. Because if they want to make a good living, let's say you want to pay somebody $5,000 a month, you're going to have to find a way to be 20, 25,000 of revenue just off things you can attach to them personally, right? Whether that's sales, whether that's the actual work itself, whatever. There's a real problem. And I only say this because I know a lot of you are thinking about this. When I got sent this post, it was very clear to me. Even when I looked at some of the comments and answers to this guy, I just go, guys, it's going to be real hard to hire with 10 grand in revenue. I mean, it's going to be really hard to hire because, like I said, you can kiss four grand of it goodbye. Like that's gone. Now you got six to play with. You got to run a truck or a shop or whatever your base cost is. That guy's definitely making more money than you're making as an owner. Not the right time to hire.
So do I look at that number and go, that's not the right time to hire? Or do I go, let me hold my breath and bust tail for, like you said, 60 days? Is 60 days enough? It really isn't, is it? I think that's where most people get caught as they go, all right, I'm going to bring this guy in. I've got some work and it'll kind of let me breathe a little bit, right? It'll kind of, I deserve this. I love that word when people say that. I deserve this now. And
Yeah.
I think most of us won't understand what you're saying. I think most of us won't. We won't. But I hope we at least take it in and go, all right, well, the time that I do hire, I need to put out, that was so good. 3 months worth of work, 3 months of what the guy's gonna make.
Yeah.
That's very fair to give somebody a shot. Like,
Yeah. So you go
that's
like
very
this.
fair.
If I'm going to just round up and say a team member is going to cost me $4,000 a month, do I got 12 grand to blow? If it goes missing, I don't care about it, right? That's what blowing money means. If my business has this money and it just goes missing tomorrow, if the answer is yes, you got that money, good time to hire, right? Because look, your first hire is probably not going to go well. If you've never hired, don't expect your first hire to go. I always tell people, try to hire 10 people. If you find one, probably doing pretty well because remember, no matter what anybody tells you about hiring, when you're hiring entry level blue collar, and I love how people say 2025, it's never been harder to hire. Entry level blue collar in 2010, 2015, 2020, and 2025, it's always been bad. Anybody trying to blame right now was not hiring entry level blue collar 15, 20, 25 years ago. It's always been a crapshoot. Doesn't matter how much you pay. That's why I kind of hate when people are like, well, right now, never been harder to hire. It's like, well, I can tell you never really hired 15 years ago or 20 years ago or
Yeah.
10 years ago. Because all of us, Marty, you hired back then. It's always been hard. It's always been hard. And so you're not going to get it right. There's going to be a cost associated with that. Then you're going to have to go back on the hiring trail. All of this stuff is part of the game. I think part of it is people aren't ready for the responsibility of hiring, not only just financially, but the headache that it causes, because it is going to be a little bit of a headache. The growth you're going to have to go through as a person to be a better boss and know how to actually manage a team. That's why 10 grand doesn't work, because there's all of these things besides just the dollar figure that you're not thinking about that's going to happen when you start hiring. And you got to be okay with it. I mean, I really think, there's no, maybe even today, I tell people, you might hire 10 to 15 people to find a good one. But I would have told you that in 2010. I'd have told you that in 2015 after I'd been hiring for a while. It's like, yeah, man, you're going to run through some people because this is blue collar work. That's what it is. Doesn't make it bad, but you got to understand the people signing up for entry level blue collar work are the same exact people 20 years ago. And I worked for people. I saw how hard it was for them to hire, right? Didn't matter. They were paying good money. The companies that I worked for didn't matter. They still struggled. 25 years ago, I got my first job in this business. Boy, oh boy, they didn't get the cream of the crop. Okay. That's not what happens. So anybody telling you 2025 is different. No, it isn't. Entry level blue collar hiring has always been this thing that's very difficult, and you got to be able to weather that storm of getting people up to speed, and maybe somebody quits, and you got to hire again, you got to hire again, you got to hire again. There's money associated with all of that. That's just how the game works.
It's tough. Yeah.
Oh, it's tough.
Kind of just finish off with just going, it's tough. It is what almost in a sense, hiring and managing team members almost does become a defining thing for any company, right? And don't even just say detailers, but you look across the detailing landscape and you go, yeah, if this guy's good at hiring and managing team members, they're going to run a good business. If they're not, that's why you and I have joked, and we look at people and go, yep, who the hell would want to work for that guy? Nobody.
Yep.
Nobody want to work for that guy. That's why he's going to stay in the position that he is and staying at a certain level. All right. Good talk. Good talk. I know we all have some stuff to chew on here because when we think of our own way we hire and the way we look at stuff, we go, huh, interesting. I wonder how many of us go and just really dive into that. It's not a fun thing. It really isn't. It's not. It's not fun to dive into hiring and how we do well at that.
You got to realize people don't want to hear this. I'll end with this. Everything in your business costs money, right? Everything. Hiring costs a lot of money. And there's many people who are trying to get you to believe that hiring isn't a big money commitment. They'll brag about, you should buy this van. I'm telling you, go hire. In 1 year, you'll surpass that van. That van's going to look like, man, that van was kind of easy to get. Go start hiring, start shelling out money to hire. And again, it's a positive thing, but we just dodge the money conversation too often. It costs to hire, man. It's not a negative, but it is a negative if you don't actually live in the real world. So I hope everybody can get something from it.
All right. We'll see y'all next time.
All right, guys.